You just sent a report to your boss. 47 citations, looks rock solid. And then you get the email back. I clicked 3 of these links, 2 of them don't say what you claimed. This is the hidden problem with AI research tools. They're great at finding answers. But finding accurate answers with sources you can actually trust, that's a different story entirely. Today, we're testing 2 tools head-to-head, Perplexity and ChatGPT's research mode, not which one sounds smarter. Which one you can actually cite without getting embarrassed. Here's what most comparison articles won't tell you. I ran the same research query through both tools. A question about recent pharmaceutical regulations. Perplexity gave me 7 citations. ChatGPT gave me a confident 2-paragraph summary. No links, no dates. No way to verify if any of it was current. That difference matters. But hold on, it's not that simple. Because ChatGPT has been updating its research mode throughout 2025 and 2026. And Perplexity, well, having citations doesn't mean those citations are correct. So I spent 2 weeks actually testing this. Real queries, real fact-checking, real embarrassment when I got it wrong. Let me show you what I found. First, let's understand what we're actually comparing here. These tools approach research from fundamentally different philosophies. Perplexity was built search first. Every single query is a research question. ChatGPT started as a conversational assistant. Research capabilities came later, in addition to something that was already good at writing, coding, and general problem solving. This architectural difference affects everything. When you ask Perplexity something, it immediately searches the web, retrieves sources, and synthesizes them with inline citations. That's its whole purpose. When you ask ChatGPT the same question, it draws from training data first. Web search is optional, an extra step you have to specifically request or enable in research mode. Neither approach is inherently better, but for research specifically, where accuracy and sourcing are the whole point, this difference creates measurably different outcomes. Let's talk numbers. Perplexity scores 93.9% on the simple QA accuracy benchmark. That's one of the highest scores of any AI tool available right now. Even more impressive, their citation accuracy sits at 97%. Meaning when Perplexity says, according to this source, that source actually says what Perplexity claims. 97% sounds great until you do the math. On a report with 30 citations, that's still potentially 1 citation that's wrong, and you don't know which one. ChatGPT doesn't publish comparable accuracy metrics for its research mode. That's not necessarily sinister, but it does make objective comparison harder. According to Cyber News testing, ChatGPT is the most consistent all-rounder. It performs well across content creation, creative writing, coding, and yes, real-time updates. But here's the key distinction Nextos AI found. For research requiring current, verified information, Perplexity's real-time web search with source citations provides fresher data and transparency. Perplexity retrieves real-time sources, cross-checks multiple results, and shows citations, making it more accurate for news, research topics, and fast-changing information. The verification testing I did backed this up. I asked both tools about recent FDA approvals, information that changes constantly. Perplexity pulled from sources dated within the last week. ChatGPT's research mode pulled from sources that were 3 to 6 months old. Still accurate, but not current. For some research, that gap is everything. Here's a specific example. I asked both tools what's the current status of the EU AI Act implementation. Perplexity gave me 7 citations from the past 2 weeks. The citations linked to official EU documents, Reuters coverage, and compliance-focused legal blogs. I checked each one. 6 out of 7 said exactly what Perplexity claimed. One citation was slightly mischaracterized. It said requirements when the source said recommendations. Small difference. Huge implications if you're building a compliance report. ChatGPT's response was well-written and comprehensive, but the information came from its training data with general statements about EU AI regulations. No specific dates, no linked sources. When I enabled research mode specifically and asked again, ChatGPT did find current sources. But it took 2 prompts instead of 1, and the citations were less prominently displayed. This matches what I kept seeing across dozens of test queries. Perplexity assumes you want research. ChatGPT assumes you want an assistant, and research is one feature among many. Zapier's analysis found that Perplexity delivers cited answers from an average of 42 sources within minutes. 42! That's a lot of cross-referencing happening under the hood. But more sources doesn't automatically mean better answers. Sometimes it means more noise. Sometimes it means the AI weighted an unreliable source too heavily. I tested this with a deliberately tricky query. Recent studies on a controversial health topic where misinformation is common. Both tools struggled, but they struggled differently. Perplexity surfaced sources from both sides of the debate, legitimate medical journals alongside wellness blogs with questionable credentials. It didn't distinguish between them. ChatGPT was more conservative. It cited fewer sources, but they were almost exclusively peer-reviewed publications. More limited, but higher average credibility. Here's where it gets practical. According to G2's testing across 11 different prompts, neither tool dominated every category. Each had clear strengths and clear weaknesses. Perplexity consistently won on factual queries, current events, and anything requiring verifiable citations. When the answer exists somewhere on the web, Perplexity finds it faster. ChatGPT won on synthesis tasks, creative applications, and queries where you need the AI to generate original content based on research, not just report what others have said. The most interesting finding from Nexos AI: most users don't pick one. The real productivity boost comes from using Perplexity to gather information and ChatGPT to transform it. This workflow actually makes sense. Research and writing are different skills. Having one tool that excels at finding information and another that excels at presenting it, that's complementary, not redundant. Let me give you a real example. I needed to write a briefing document on AI governance trends for a client. Complex topic, lots of recent developments. I started in Perplexity, asked about regulatory developments in the US, EU, UK, and China, got comprehensive summaries with recent citations, took about 15 minutes to gather everything I needed. Then I moved to ChatGPT, pasted in Perplexity's research, and asked it to draft an executive summary, key recommendations, and a risk analysis. The output was polished and client-ready. Neither tool alone would have done it as well. Perplexity alone would have given me accurate research, but in a format that needed heavy editing. ChatGPT alone might have gotten facts wrong. The combined workflow took about 40 minutes total. Trying to do the same thing manually, searching, reading, synthesizing, writing, would have been a full afternoon. So here's what I'd recommend based on all this testing. For any research that will be shared externally or used for decisions, start with Perplexity. The built-in citations save verification time. If you're transforming research into deliverables, reports, presentations, emails, hand Perplexity's output to ChatGPT. Let each tool do what it does best. And here's the crucial habit. Always click through at least 2 or 3 of Perplexity's cited sources on important queries. 97% accuracy still means 3% errors. That 3% compounds fast. 30 citations in a report? That's potentially 1 wrong citation. 100 citations? 3 or 4. You need a verification habit. For time-sensitive topics, breaking news, market data, current events, Perplexity's real-time search is meaningfully more reliable. ChatGPT's research mode can lag days or weeks behind. Here's your homework for this week. Pick a research question you've been putting off, something that actually matters to your work. Run it through both tools. Compare the results yourself. Don't just read the answers. Click at least 3 citations. Check if the source actually says what the AI claimed. You'll learn more in 10 minutes of verification than hours of reading comparisons. If you found this comparison useful, consider subscribing. We test AI tools like this every week. Real workflows, real results, no hype. Just what actually works. Next week, I'm comparing AI coding assistants. Not just which one writes code faster, but which one writes code you can actually ship. That's a whole different question. Before we wrap up, let's address the elephant in the room. Both of these tools are evolving constantly. What I tested last month may already be outdated by the time you're hearing this. ChatGPT has been adding research features throughout 2025 and 2026. Perplexity has been expanding into multimodal search and deeper analysis. The gap between them may narrow. The pricing's worth mentioning too. Perplexity Pro runs about $20 a month. ChatGPT Plus is also $20. If you're using both in a complementary workflow, that's $40 a month. Is $40 a month worth it? If you're doing research for work regularly, absolutely. The time saved on verification alone justifies the cost several times over. But if you're a casual user just looking for quick answers, the free tiers of both tools are surprisingly capable. You hit limits faster, but the core functionality works. There's a bigger question underneath all of this testing. Are we training ourselves to trust AI-generated research too much? Citation accuracy of 97% sounds great, until it isn't. Some critics argue that Perplexity's citation model creates false confidence. Just because an answer has sources doesn't mean those sources were interpreted correctly. And ChatGPT's confidence summaries without links, they can sound authoritative while being based on outdated or misremembered training data. Confidence isn't accuracy. The solution isn't to stop using these tools. It's to use them as starting points rather than endpoints. Let AI do the initial gathering, but you do the final verification. So, Perplexity versus ChatGPT research mode. Which one will you actually trust? The honest answer? Neither one completely. And that's okay. Perplexity is better at finding current, verifiable information with sources you can check. ChatGPT is better at synthesizing and presenting information you've already gathered. Use them together. Verify what matters, and never cite something you haven't clicked. That's how you do AI research you can actually trust. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.